Tell us your story.
I've always known that I was attracted to guys. I've always known what the word gay meant, but I never put the two together. I denied my sexuality for years until freshman year of high school. I came out as bisexual freshman year because I was still too scared to call myself gay. I would tell myself that, oh, I think guys are hot, but I'm still going to marry a girl. But I slowly began to realize that I was just gay. I was never ashamed of being gay. The only fear I had was disappointing my Chinese parents. Coming out to my friends was so easy, but trying to come out to my parents was heartbreaking. I first told my mother that I was bi in a car. It was pretty much a blur, but I just remember her yelling and asking me if I was gay. We got home and I just hid in the den of my house and cried. My mom came in and said, "I'll still love you no matter what." But my heart was already in so much pain that I didn't take in what she said. My father came home and she told him, but he brushed it off thinking I would grow out of it. We didn't talk about it for a few months and things seemed normal. I was writing a card for my friend and I wrote GBF next to a picture of me. My mom saw it and asked what it meant. I refused to tell her, but she knew what it meant. She told my dad and he came downstairs to talk to me. Most of it was just him telling me that I was wrong and I was too young to know. He told me he wasn't mad, but his eyes and voice told a different story. He told me to think about it more and he would talk to me again. About a month later, he sat me down to talk again. This time was even more vicious. He started to attack my entire personality. He told me I was weird for being an environmentalist, a vegan, and now for being gay. It hurt so bad. My heart felt like it broke into a million pieces. He left me in my room sobbing. I felt numb. I stayed up crying. Everyone went to sleep except my brother. He was there with me while I cried. He told me he would talk to them the next day, which he did. While my family ate dinner, I stayed in my room. I couldn't look at them. I could faintly hear them talking downstairs, but I wasn't sure what they were saying. Not too long after, my brother came upstairs to tell me that they would try. They would try to learn more about it and accept it. I started to cry and my brother hugged me. We went downstairs and with a smile, my mom told me to eat some tofu she made. My dad brought home a minion box from work that I think was some sort of apology. My eyes puffy and red, I ate the tofu and explored the minion box. 4 years later, we have talked about it a few more times, but it's still a touchy subject. I can only hope that one day they'll take me to a pride event one day.
I'm 16 years old, Asian, bisexual, and proud. Ever since I was young, I would be attracted to people of my own gender. Because I grew up in a conservative household, I didn't know that you could date someone of your same gender. It wasn't until middle school when I met others in GSA, Gay Straight Alliance, or Gender Sexuality Alliance, that I finally realized what I was. It hasn't been easy hiding myself from my family, but I hope that one day I will be able to tell them. For my fellow closeted Asians, you're not alone.
I am a transgender male and am also pansexual. My nationality is American, but my ethnic background is rather mixed: Vietnamese, Chinese, and Armenian. I had struggled with gender identity for a very long time. As a kid, it was simply finding my crowd and trying to sink into the predetermined notions as being AFAB, assigned female at birth. I wore Ao Dai, traditional clothes for my cultures, anything that fit into that box. When puberty hit, I started to hide all the discomfort because in my family, we don't talk about that stuff. It wasn't until middle school that I found out what it was, that I am a transgender male. At first it was taken badly, ignored for a year or more. Then I tried speaking to my family again, to no avail in understanding or support, but it was acknowledged. It is hard to express to family from another country that you will no longer be wearing traditional dresses anymore and use another name. But coming out was one of the things I do not regret. I should have done so earlier. My fellow support has been my fellow Asian friends. Although I know no other trans person that is Asian in person, I still have their support and all. It would have been great to have more representations growing up. That, and it's great to see Chella Man out there. Although I don't see many others. I hope to be a representation in the future too. I'm finally pursuing my medical transition soon. Even though this is anonymous for reasons I cannot disclose, I hope someone will relate and not feel alone.
I'm a non-binary lesbian Filipino. Socially, I'm out of the closet. However, I'm not out to my family. My identity boggles a lot of people's minds, and it's something I've spent a lot of time contemplating. Previously, I identified as bisexual for several years, since around middle school. I always felt attracted to women, but I buried that attraction deeply for a long time. And then this year, I analyzed my attraction to men completely. I struggled with compulsory heterosexuality for quite a while, and I still do, actually. I often find myself trying to psych myself out. Wow, you like a male character? You think that actor is attractive? You can't be lesbian. It's tough sometimes, but surrounding myself with lesbians and WLW creators helps ease it. My gender is still a work in progress, I would say. As I matured, I began to reject femininity. I began to bind safely with the proper binder when I wasn't around my parents, and it felt nice. I tested the waters using he/they only, and I found that they/them pronouns made me feel great, gooder than usual. My only connection to womanhood was my body, and man, did I not like it. After coming out as lesbian, though, I found that my connection to womanhood was renewed in a way. If another girl would see me as a girl, then I would be fine with that. I still consider myself to be non-binary, and I only use they/them pronouns, but being perceived as female stings less. A lot of people don't think that these two identities are able to exist within one person, but seeing other gender non-conforming lesbians really made me feel better. My pride in my identity has carried me so far, and I'm no longer afraid of the change that comes with analyzing my feelings.
I'm an immigrant from Malaysia where homosexuality is illegal. I knew that my parents did not move our family to Australia working multiple part-time jobs just to support a child who turns out to be gay. I trapped my feelings inside with shame and pushed my parents away. It's hard to be around someone when you know they have the capacity to hate you for who you are. Maybe if you love them less, their eventual hate will be less of a blow. This fear of rejection extended to my close friends, who had no problem letting the words gay and faggot slip out in a derogatory way, masked under jokes and laughter. Although most of them are Asians, many of them don't empathize with the queer community who experience the same marginalization and prejudice on the basis of their identity. Their use of faggot mirrors a racist who yell bloody ching-chongs. Most of my queer identity deems me deviant in my Asian community. My Asian identity makes me stick out like a sore thumb in the white majority of the queer community. After a few years, I came out to my friends, and it turns out that they are more supportive than I assumed. I went to my first Pride March this year, and in the sideline stood an Asian granny with short, curly gray hair, smiling at the crowd, and I knew at that moment I was going to be okay.
I didn't know that I was bisexual until my early 20s. Looking back, there are definitive signs back in high school that I liked women. I was sexually and romantically attracted to women, but because I was deeply rooted in the Catholic community, I can afford to out myself as a Filipino-American bisexual woman in fear of being ousted by the Catholic Church and its members. Last year, I informed people about me questioning my sexuality on a Facebook group. I don't remember the exact name of the group, but the members of that group were telling me that I could be bisexual. I then started looking at articles about bisexuality and it instantly fit me. At the time, I identified being sexually and romantically attracted to both men and women. Funny enough, I first came out to my friends with benefits about being bisexual and he was cool with it. I then told my cousin and I was super excited that they were supportive of me no matter what I am. Then came the terrifying part. I had to come out to my parents. While my mom was supportive of my bisexuality, my dad told me at first that I could only like one sex. Great. I wasn't surprised that he came out biphobic, still. Your daughter literally told you a vulnerable secret that can potentially ruin her life for good. My dad didn't kick me out of the apartment, but it was upsetting knowing that he wasn't understanding of my identity. Though I figured out my sexuality and went through the bi-cycle of liking men more and then liking women more, I was rather confused about my romantic orientation. Was I bi-romantic? Was I aromantic? This year I just figured out that I'm panromantic, meaning that I am romantically attracted to all genders regardless of their gender identity. While it was difficult to grapple the fact that my romantic attraction and sexuality are different from each other, I'm glad to come out of the closet as a panromantic bisexual.
I came from Japan to the States in 2007 to live with my boyfriend. We were able to get married after NY State had legalized same-sex marriage. It took more time for us to be able to recognize our marriage at the federal level because of the DOMA. I'm so happy and appreciative about all the support we have gotten from friends and family over the years. On the other hand, the LGBTQ situations in my own country, Japan, have not improved at all, unfortunately.
As a child, I wasn't ever really introduced to who I could date or be with. To be honest, I was supposedly forbidden from any sort of dating by my parents, which I'm sure other Asians have gone through too. Of course, as I got older, I saw that more and more of my friends were getting into relationships, some of them making it as some sort of achievement in life, or using their relationship to gain popularity. I started to feel left out and thought that I needed to start dating too. However, I thought that dating the opposite sex was the only acceptable form of a relationship. I eventually found out that I was so wrong during my middle school years and was introduced to the LGBTQ+ community there. I used to identify myself as a bisexual, but was soon introduced to the term asexual and have only recently switched over to identifying myself as an asexual lesbian. I've tried to come out to my parents a couple of times when I got a girlfriend, but was usually ignored or they would think I was joking. One of the times I tried outing myself, my mom told me that it was wrong and she hoped I was joking. I kept trying to tell her that it wasn't, but she insisted. The pain I felt that day was indescribable. I never was the type to cry often, if at all, but I know I bawled after walking away from her. For a good while, I was content with the fact that my parents wouldn't take me seriously, but deep down, I knew this was eventually going to come. I've moved on from this, though, and have stopped trying to get them to understand because of how stubborn my parents are. Nowadays, I look forward to moving out and living with my girlfriend.
I'm 14 years old. When I was 12, I realized I was attracted to girls. I was born female. To me, it didn't really come as a surprise, nor was it something that affected my view of myself a lot. I accepted it pretty quickly, even though my parents were homophobic. At 13, I told my mother I liked girls, and she said I was just confused. I didn't push it any further. Around the same time, I started to realize I was experiencing some degree of dysphoria. Even now, I'm not 100% sure what I identify as, but I'm hoping it turns out okay in the future.
When I was just becoming a teenager, I began to question my sexuality. At the end of middle school, I focused on getting a boyfriend because I was insecure and felt like I needed validation, but also confirmation that I could like a boy, and that those feelings towards women were only in my imagination. However, instead of having fleeting feelings for women like I was hoping for, my feelings only got stronger. I was very scared back then because of the environment I grew up in, but now that I am out of the house, I feel the most myself that I have ever been. I proudly love women and feel absolutely no shame. If anything, I'm grateful because men are the way they are and I don't have to deal with that. I love girls.
Hi, my name is Robin. I'm a junior at the University of Pennsylvania, double majoring in biology and fine arts. In my free time, I love powerlifting, painting, and psychedelics. If I had to choose one word to describe my experiences as a queer Asian individual, I'd choose proud, because I am proud to be who I am and happy with how far I've come in accepting all aspects of myself.
Hello, my name is Phyllis, and I'm a 17-year-old lesbian high schooler. I'm a full Chinese who lives in a Vietnamese household. My stepmother and my stepsister is Vietnamese, so my father is full Chinese, and my half-brother is half Chinese, half Vietnamese. One word that would describe my experience as an LGBTQ individual in an Asian community would be extraordinary. The challenges that I had to overcome as a queer Asian youth and is not having many people accepting me as who I am. I'm able to surmount them by assuring that this is a part of me and I'm still human. And just like everyone else, no matter how many differences we have, is that we're still the same.
What advice would you give to your younger self?
Your time will come. Breathe, take a moment, and forgive.
Don't doubt yourself. You know yourself better than anyone else, including your family. Don't be afraid to express yourself. There are many people in the world who would not hesitate to support you. You are loved, you are cherished, you are amazing because you are you.
Don't forget your own happiness must be valued. Do not let the values of others get in your way, and do not wait for people who will not try to support you.
Don't be afraid of those feelings you feel about other girls. Your crushes on guys are platonic at best. And get into volleyball or something. My poor back would benefit from you gaining interest in something active or whatever.
You aren't alone. There are so many of us out there going through the same thing, and you deserve love. Love is not wrong. No matter what others tell you, you are worthy and strong, and you can get through this. Keep fighting against injustice and speak out, because you are not only fighting for yourself, you are fighting for others too.
To my younger self, I would have come out sooner, probably in high school. I wish that I learned about my sexuality earlier.
Be yourself.
I wish I could have told myself that I didn't need to date anyone, and that being single was completely fine. It definitely isn't a competition and never will be. Also, some other advice I would have told myself back then was to take a relationship slow and easy, that there was no rush whatsoever.
Chill out. Don't stress about it too much.
You're not the only one who's feeling the way you're feeling. It's not dirty, it's not something you should be ashamed of, and someday you will learn to love that part of yourself. And the people around you will still love you, because that is what you are most afraid of. People seeing you differently and shattering their good image of you. You're great no matter what, and you grow up to be quite the queen.
A message I would give is not to be discouraged by the hardship and tribulations of life. One of the Asian individuals that I look up to is Leah Lewis. The advice I would give is that this generation is more of finding yourself and being who you want to be, and that you don't have to worry about what other people say. Back then, it's more of finding food and shelter for your loved ones and your family. But now you don't have to, and you're free to be yourself.
Honestly, I don't have the closest relationship with my family. I don't even think my parents know I'm bisexual, and I'm fine with that. Family isn't as important a value to me as it might be to others. You know, just because they're your family doesn't mean they're a good person. Just be strong, and it definitely does get better.
Hey guys, this is Stephanie, the founder of Day, and I just wanted to thank everyone for sharing your stories and for reading these stories as well. We really appreciate you, especially since I know how hard it is, how hard it can be to come forward with your stories and to share that with the world. It truly does take a lot of courage. And yeah, I just wanted to say that this was really, really inspiring to see all of you, go through these things and still come out as strong as you are today. So with that said, happy Pride Month.